I do got a couple of commercials I got to do right off the top.
Oh. A commercial for a different beer company. It was like, well, this you can't drink. Oh, wait, I swore.
See?
There you go.
You're going to have to keep him reeled in.
Filthy mouth comedians.
Yeah, I can't even be a comedian. I'm not that funny.
Well, thank you for tuning in. This is Matt Santos of The Mile High Show. You're listening to episode 214. Would be 215, but I recorded one episode that I never aired. Just one. This podcast brought to you by the Sheridan Group. DJ, this guy that used to work with Matt here got so drunk we could barely finish it, let alone post it. It was so DJ Sheridan. Good to think about you right now. We are brought to you this week by. This is a special sponsorship that we just got today. Alvarez Tire in Chino Valley. I needed tires for my truck, and
You traded a shout out.
We got brand new tires for the Dodge. Pretty much. Pretty close to free. Alvarez Tire, your neighborhood tire store, 1574 South Highway 89 in Chino Valley. AlvarezTire.net. Thanks, Raul, for taking care of me and our Mile High Show mobile studio. Give them a call, 928-636-1771. Hey, Maddie, you bought tires at a former sponsorship, Tire Doctor in Chino. What'd they hit you up for? What'd you remember? Do you remember? How much? Yeah. How much did they? For your tires?
It was like one tire.
No. How much for your set? Remember you got your set for your truck when your dad bought them?
Set from there, I went to discount.
Oh, okay.
Even after the sponsorship, that's like sacrilege.
Man, maybe that's why they are no longer. Maybe that's why they're not sponsoring the show anymore. Thanks. Now we got to bleep out.
And we've got to say nice things about Alvarez if you want to get them balanced later.
Alvarez Tire in Chino Valley took care of us today, so shoot by for the best deal on the best tires in Chino Valley. Also, Big Daddy E's Barbecue. You guys, have you ever eaten at Big Daddy E's Barbecue
Not
in Chino
yet.
Valley? Excellent food. It is fantastic. They got some weird hours, though. Tuesday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Except Fridays, they're open until 7. Live music on the patio. BDEBBQ.com on Butterfield Road, 380 Butterfield Road in Chino Valley. They're kind of the ongoing, every episode sponsor to the show because one of the things they do for me and for the Mile High Show is when I go to road trip shows, which we have coming up, on another sponsorship that ties in right with what we're going to be talking about with our guests today from the Mile High Comedy Theater. We're going to be talking about comedy, storytelling, improv, the upcoming show at the Elks Theater on October 5th. You guys are all in that, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yeah. One of the things Eric does, Eric Veneer, the owner of Big Daddy E's Barbecue in Chino Valley, is when I go on the road for specifically comedy festivals, he loads me up on the way.
Nice.
Last year, for the Big Pine Comedy Festival, which we will be returning to next week, September 18th through the 22nd, last year he loaded me up with like 15 pounds of pulled pork, 4 slabs of ribs, a bunch of sides, a bunch of T-shirts to give out and to feed a lot of the comics that were at Big Pine last year.
So you gave out the T-shirts and kept the meat. I see where this is going.
That meat went fast. It went fast at Big Pine headquarters. Now, Big Pine Comedy Festival is returning to Flagstaff, Arizona next week, September 18th through the 22nd. BigPineComedyFestival.org. Get a load. See if you guys know any of these names. You guys comedy fans, I'm assuming?
Absolutely.
This is who's showing up to Big Pine 19. Tony Baker, Andy Steinberg, Jim Brewer, Jackie Fabulous, Michael Longfellow from Conan O'Brien. You know Michael. He's performed here in Prescott a couple of times. Jamie Kennedy of the Jamie Kennedy Experience. And what was that, Malibu's Most Wanted? Yeah. Jill Kimmel, Lisa Landry, Miss Pat. If you guys do not know Miss Pat, find Miss Pat. Just Google Miss Pat. Some of the wildest stories you will ever hear. Ari Shafir's This Is Not Happening. She is one of the favorites on that show. Kat Alvarado, Bruce Jingles. I love Bruce. He's a good guy. Ari Manis, Gregory Romero Wilson are just some of the names that are at Big Pine Comedy Festival 2019 in Flagstaff next week. And then we, the Mile High Show, are returning as one of the feature podcasts. We're going to be recording about 25 podcasts during the festival live in front of audiences. We're on the main stage at the Green Room on Thursday afternoon. You won't be there Thursday, huh? You going up on Friday? You going Friday? Yeah, a lot of free shows and a lot of ticketed shows. You can find out all the pricing information, ticket information, festival pass information, and of course the full list of free shows at bigpinecomedyfestival.org. And I'm going to hit a few of them. I don't know which ones. Whatever ones they'll let me on. And the final sponsor for this week's 214th, what did I say, 214th episode is the Elks Theater right here in Prescott, Arizona. The PrescottElksTheater.com.
We love the Elks.
But now you guys being our guests today, members of the Mile High Comedy Theater, that's where you're based out of, right? Your
Yes,
classroom
sir.
is right there.
We have our rehearsals there, our performances there.
Nice.
They're great to us.
October 5th, 7 p.m., a full night of comedy, improv. They're really lowering the bar on stand-up this one, yeah. Kevin Rose,
the rumor.
Kevin Rose Comedy will be the headliner for the stand-up portion. He's got some bozo opening for him. PrescottElksTheater.com, 7 p.m. on October 5th. The Mile High Comedy Theater will be performing, and some of those performers are right here with us today. Mr. Amos Owen. Anna, I'm going to butcher your last name. What's the last name again? Pronounce it for
The
me.
chainsaw.
Anna Chainsaw. Anna McCullough. Something like that. Close enough. She's nodding, which is great for an audio-only podcast. And Liz, no D in Rogers.
That's right.
Let's meet all of you first off. Let's just go around the horn here. Amos.
Yeah,
Amos
that's
Owen.
me.
What's hometown for you? You were born and raised here in the area? Where are you from?
I was not. I came from the Northeast, the great wilderness of Vermont, fighting bears.
Vermont,
yeah, fighting bears. That's what we do, and we look at leaves change.
Now, how long have you been in this area?
I moved here in 2008, so 11 years I've been here.
11 years. Nice. So okay, you've been here for 11 years. You moved here when you were 7.
Yes.
So how old were you when you moved here?
I was 22.
Okay, as an adult. Okay,
Yeah.
Married, single, kids? What do you got?
Recently married, long-time parent.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
That's backwards. So you living in sin?
No, I was married once before for a long time, and then I fixed it, and then I was happy again. But I had a kid out of it, so I'm still stuck with her for a while.
How old's your child?
She's 13 now.
It's a 13-year-old daughter?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Very
so
nice.
She's 13. She's starting to do really well. She's been kind of a pain in the ass for a while, but
Yeah.
she's a lot better now.
Yeah, I've got a 10, just turned 10-year-old. He was born when I was already fairly old. So everybody thought he was my grandson when I started taking him around to the stores and
Actually,
things.
it's a funny story. Now that the daughter's 13, she's starting to grow up into the next phase of adulthood.
Does she hate you yet?
No, actually, she likes me more than she used to.
Oh, nice.
She's doing this backwards. She's got it all wrong with the schedule. But so a few weeks ago, they had one of these craft shows down on the square, and
Yeah.
we're going through the different booths just to kill time. And one of these jewelry pushers comes up, and the kid's looking at something. She's 13, some bracelet or earrings or whatever, and she goes, "Oh, okay. Well, I make you a deal. Normally I sell this for $65, but since the boyfriend is paying, it's $25 today." And I went, "Excuse me?" And I didn't try to think too much of it, that it was the next phase of life. And then a week later, I'm buying liquor at Walmart, and then at the cash, going through the self-checkout, I get carded, and then the woman's like, "So, what's the relationship here?" And I'm like, "That's my daughter." So now we're getting into the Paulden phase. of our
you really
relationship
probably
where
shouldn't
you
be
can't.
buying her alcohol.
Well, I didn't tell her that it was for the kid, but the kid's got a problem. She gets really
13, late starter.
if she doesn't get her wine, she gets violent. So
I do not envy you. When I was 13, I did not understand women. I'm 53 now. Do not understand women. I would hate to have to try and pretend to raise one. It's a complete mystery to me. So I was when we found out my wife was pregnant, and you got that period of time when you're not sure what to expect, and when we finally found out that we were having a little boy, I was so relieved, and I made no pretense of not being relieved.
Yeah, I try to be open with her, and and talk about all the different issues that they come up with now. And it was really funny. It was actually just yesterday. We're driving, and she says, "Dad, what's sexuality? Is that just who you like?" I was like, "Well, that's part of it." And we go through the whole thing, and I said, "Why do you ask? Who are you talking to?"
Yeah.
She's on her phone, and I was like, "Oh, this is one of my friends, girlfriend that's the same age that lives up in the Portland area." And I said, "Okay, that's fine. It's all natural. It's part of life. It's part of your own path of figuring things out. I just had to make sure you weren't talking to Ray from down the street."
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be doing my job.
Yeah.
If
The
I
guy
didn't
that
ask.
works at the Circle K.
Yeah, he was curious. He seemed like a nice
And
guy.
he had a bag of candy. I don't know
He
what
charged
was
me
going on.
59 cents for a 79-cent Big Gulp. I think he likes me.
I do not envy you. Now, how long have you been associated with the Mile High Comedy Theater?
Since the reincarnation of this, so
March, February,
that.
something like
yeah,
that. I think.
and then we've had the one show with the newer troupe, the
Christopher Royer headlining.
Yep.
Good friend of mine, Christopher.
Yeah, that was a good show. We sold 399
Nice.
tickets, which was the biggest single audience I ever performed for. And when I found out that it was $399, I felt guilty for not buying a ticket for nobody just to get that nice round 400, just for my own ego boost.
I want to get back to a little of your history. Let's keep going. Anna, you are an East Coast native as well.
Yes, this is true. Although you can't tell by my accent.
Where from?
New York City. I grew
York
up in the
City.
Bronx.
Yeah.
Bronx.
And you are now in Prescott. Single, married,
Divorced. Happily divorced.
Happily divorced.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now you sound like my wife's wish list, I think, is what you. We hit 25 years this coming spring. We just
That's
went
awesome.
over 24.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Yeah,
How many
so-
years did you get on your sentence?
Yeah.
No time off for
my
good
birth
behavior.
certificate has an expiration date. It's, the marriage license didn't. No, I got married kind of late in life. I was almost 30, 28, 29, almost 29. So we're here. I've got friends of mine who are, significantly younger than me that are 24, 25 years already, and are grandparents. And I'm like, we got one child. We got a 10-year-old. And so I will be in my 60s when he is graduating high school. Not looking forward to that. Any kids in that?
I have a
now defunct, happily divorced marriage.
I have a 2-year-old. I usually say 27-month-old, but people are like really annoyed. They look at me like, "So he's 2?" I'm like, "Yeah."
At what point can you stop using months?
Well, the average person should stop using months once the child turns 1.
Yeah.
Myself, however, which I had to explain to this friend, I can use months for infinity long because I work with children and I do developmental assessments on them, which are month by month and week by week for infants. So I have the okay to forever use months.
I'm 636 months old.
Was just going to ask you.
I just looked at my calculator, which, oddly enough, is the prefix for the phone numbers in Chino Valley, where you can find Alvarez Tires at 636-1771. How'd you like that segue, huh?
Oh,
Well
Nick's gonna.
done.
How do you like this segue? Chino Valley is where I work at the Head Start in Chino Valley.
nice.
Down the street from Alvarez Tires and
Now, Head Start
BBQ.
right across from the courthouse?
from the
municipal
library.
court and the library. Yeah, the courthouse right next.
Yes,
I do a
sir.
lot of work for the town of Chino.
Synchronicity.
My wife works, she's an employee of the town, and I'm a contractor for the town. Her office is on the back side of the library right there. So Head Start is where you, when you're passing by, you have to immediately slow down if you see a policeman, and you don't if you don't.
If you don't see the policeman.
Oh, man, that corner right there at 3.
Yeah, that's where I pull my vape away.
Yeah.
Because the policemen can be on foot, they can be in the car, they can be in the helicopters.
They're right on the other side of the library, the Chino
but
PD.
They're the Chino PV, so they're probably not even looking at you.
Oh, they pull me over on a regular basis.
Well,
Just to say hi.
Just to say hi, exactly.
Let me tell you a story. We used to have a Chevy Blazer that had something wrong with the headlight, the driver's side headlight. I changed the bulb, changed the whole housing, changed the wiring harness. I couldn't figure out where the short was, but if I hit a bump or just periodically, it would go out. And my hours are really weird, so a lot of times, 2, 3 in the morning, I'm going home. One headlight, they're cruising for drunks. So I get pulled over once a month, they check my stuff. Most of them knew me, but they would initially pull me over for the bad headlight. Get it fixed. Well, I had all the receipts here. I bought this. I can't figure it out. But if I punched it, it would turn back on. It got to the point after about a year and a half. One officer in particular, good buddy of mine, coming the opposite way, behind me, wherever, he would pull me over, get on, 2 o'clock in the morning, get on the loudspeaker. Matt, stay in the car. He'd run over, hit it, turn it on, get back in the car and wave. I'd go back home.
See, when you said if I punched it, I thought they were just going to think you were trying to outrun them, like you punched it.
No, I had to physically punch the light and it would turn back on.
So what would you do for a missing rearview mirror?
What would I do for a missing rearview mirror? Not back up.
Well, I definitely wouldn't be putting my makeup on in the car.
I do mine at home.
I did this just for radio today, actually.
They were doing some work on Reed Road last year, and they dropped the speed limit from 45 to 15. And at 3 a.m. coming home, nobody's out there working, so I'm slowing down to 20. Got pulled over. Again, they were cruising for drunks. I didn't get a ticket. They just said, "Oh, okay, we didn't know it was you. See you later." The very next night, got pulled over for doing 18. The third night in a row for doing 22. So 20.
You did
18,
not learn your lesson.
Not paying attention.
You're a menace
what are you
to
doing up in the
society.
middle of the
I
night?
don't say anything. I'm coming home. I do a lot of shooting at night, do a lot of recording.
Yeah.
I work in Phoenix a lot at some of the clubs, so, I'm coming home. I'm leaving Phoenix at midnight. And coming
You look
home.
suspicious, so they pull you over.
Nobody's on the road in Chino Valley at that night unless
Exactly.
they're leaving a bar or, in my case, coming home from work. But I got town of Chino closed on Fridays for the most part. They're a Monday through Thursday operation.
Yeah.
So it was Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. I don't say anything because I didn't get a ticket. Never told my wife. It was no big deal. Knew the cops each time. Don't say a word. I get a phone call at 10 a.m. on Monday morning from my wife at work. She goes, "So, you weren't going to tell me you got pulled over?" The Ratfinks ratted me out. They all called her and said, "Hey, we pulled over your husband. Did he tell you?" No. They're a bunch of... Yeah.
Well, we know who they
Small
really
town.
like.
Oh, no. Yeah, they do. Chief of Police, Chuck Wynn, he told my wife if she ever needs to get rid of the body, he can show her how and coach her through the interview. I thought he was joking. I asked him one time at a council meeting, I said, "Hey, I heard you had that conversation with my wife. It was pretty funny." He goes, "I wasn't joking. We like her better than you."
Does he offer that service to everybody?
I don't know. Are you looking? Brings up our next guest here. Liz Rogers, married, sounds like.
What gave it away?
Well, you're trying to get rid of a body. That's a good sign.
I taught my children very young. The first question they ask them is, "Do you have life insurance?" And the second one is, "Who is the beneficiary?" Then anything goes.
I don't have life insurance. My wife's still trying to get rid of me. I don't know.
Oh, see, now that's just bad planning.
No, that shows you how bad it is.
That you know of. She may have a great big policy out on you that she hasn't told you about.
Trust me, nobody's insuring this. It's not
I got
happening.
rejected, so I don't think you have that chance.
I blew out a tire. I ride a bike, motorcycle. I blew out a tire doing about 75. Her first question is, "How's the bike?" It's fine. I'm okay, too. I didn't drop it. And she goes, "Well, yeah, I want to know about the bike."
You have no resale value.
She goes, "The bike's expensive." Dead serious. 100% true.
Well, bodies heal, bikes just sit there broken. I mean,
No.
True story.
She's not even worried about that healing part. I think she's looking for a ticket out. I think.
Yeah, you were
You
were
witnessed
clearly
it,
talking
Maddie.
to her on the phone. You called her and said you blew a tire.
Yeah.
So she said, "Oh, you know what? The face area is still there."
You know, medical
never
bills
was.
and mechanical bills, those are both pretty
They're both
high.
bad.
Can you,
Yeah,
can you
they're
even
both
compare
bad.
that?
So, Ann and Liz, you guys, how long have you been with the troupe, the theater group?
So with the reincarnated, well, obviously I've been with the reincarnated troupe since it reincarnated. And I have some roots with the OG tribe
Nice.
of the grassroots Mile High Comedy Theater.
Any
I'm
of
just
the-
spitting about a bunch
who-
of words that sound sexy.
Who else has returned? Is Annie O'Connor's out of state now? She's in California, I think.
Right.
Who else is back? What are some of the familiar faces? We got Cynthia Sobo, obviously.
Yes.
Cisco Ortiz.
Yes.
Jennifer Maxwell, who we saw here not that long ago. Who else? What other names we got?
And
going in
Bliss Streetman.
there? I'd have to see a face. I
Oh,
probably.
you would know Bliss if
Yeah.
you saw her.
You wouldn't
would
see a
hear
face
her.
if she was behind a counter because she's not very tall.
She makes me feel tall.
And who
Sorry,
else? Who
Bliss.
else we got? Is Jantina Russell back in or no?
She's not back.
She has a program. I don't know. Well, look on the Mile High Facebook page. We shared it. They have improv at the high school that she's doing, I think, tomorrow
Yeah.
night. So she's active in the. Jantina's been a guest on the show before, and she is a real active directing the theater group at Bradshaw Mountain High School out
Sure
in Prescott
is.
Valley. So what brought you to this group? It was what? They went dark in 2016, 2017 for a couple years, came back earlier this year.
Yeah.
What brought you into the group? What was the
Originally?
Yeah, what was the
Oh,
desire
I
to
did
come in?
improv back in New York City.
Nice.
We sucked, but it was a lot of fun. No, seriously, Mile High is like way better.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was cool because I've always I have just roots in it, and I like funny stuff.
Yeah. How about you, Liz?
I auditioned the same day Amos did. We went through that process together, so I'm new to the
That was
group as well.
An early Sunday morning, if I remember correctly, wasn't
Yes, it was. Yes, and actually, it was a complete whim for me to go.
Yeah. Why'd you? What even planted the seed? What was the?
Anna, actually, she posted something.
Oh my God, I'm gonna cry.
And I remember I reached out to you and I said, okay, I'm thinking about doing this. I haven't done theater in years. I refer to it as being released from my hostage situation. My kids are now 17 and 18.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
as long as I leave car keys and a debit card, I can leave the house now. They refer to it as my midlife crisis. They say anybody who goes back and does improv as an adult is obviously suffering from some kind of mental deficiency or something along those lines. But I just went out on a whim. I never actually expected to make it.
But you have some theater background.
I did year-
Like what? What were you in? Community theater, school? What
I
was
did
it?
community theater. I played Juliet one year. I played Kate in Taming of the Shrew. I did, a lot of Shakespeare stuff
Yeah.
and a lot of other stuff. And I've always been a smartass, so now I get to do it for a reason.
Yeah, nice. And you were doing improv in New York, back east.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I've been in Prescott for over a decade.
Yeah. What type of improv were you doing? Were you doing it as performance or as just exercise?
No, it was a performance.
Okay.
I mean, we would meet. It was God, I can't remember. It was called like New York Comedy Club, and it was called the Grown Ups Playground. I wonder if they're still around. Our director was pretty awesome. She was in some movies and stuff.
Nice.
So she started it for fun, and people would just like show up. You'd like read Backstage magazine and go to like whatever. Or I would. I don't know about you. Or I don't think everybody did this in New York, but I did. And then just go to random auditions and just like.
The reason I ask is because I do know a lot of folks who have been involved in improv, and some do it because for the creative muscles to stretch and to perform and to get on stage and get that feedback. Others do it. I've known several who have done it, got into improv to assist with, like in their careers, public speaking and for teaching. A lot of teachers that I knew were involved in improv groups. Not even the aspect of performing. It was more to kind of stretch those mental muscles to think on their feet, to be able to speak publicly in other aspects. The improv theater, the theaters that they were involved with was more of just a vehicle to get better at what they were already doing. So I just wasn't sure. How about you, Amos? What has been your performance history?
So That's a funny story. Anyway, so when I was in 8th grade,
Does this involve buying alcohol for 13-year-olds, or is that?
Well, yes, that's why he said when I was in 8th grade.
when I was in 8th grade,
Just in
yeah, I was on the receiving end. Actually, no, there was a mandatory Shakespeare play every year put on by the 8th grade class, and so I was forced into being Hamlet. I don't know why. I had a D average, and the teacher's like, "You're Hamlet," and I said, "What the?" I caught myself there. I almost went. Anyway, and then that was my only theatrical experience up until a number 3-4 years ago now. My wife, then girlfriend's co-worker's husband's co-worker.
His roommates, sisters, nephews, dog.
We're saying
Do you live in a dorm?
Distant somehow. I didn't know her. I knew her name. I knew I had seen her once before, but if you had asked me to pick her out of a police lineup, I wouldn't have done it. Anyway, so they were doing a Rocky Horror Show at the Elks Theater, and they couldn't find a Rocky. And she had seen me at karaoke, drunk, yelling into a microphone. And apparently that was enough for a winning audition. And she's like, hey, this he's tall and blonde, and he's in, I guess, okay shape, and we need a Rocky. So she talked to her coworker, who talked to his wife, who talked to my girlfriend, who said, Amber says, would you come please be Rocky? And I said, who? So my introduction to theater was being rolled out onto stage under this tarp that had all the, blocked out all light of day.
Wearing gold underwear.
And then this gets ripped off of me.
That was just a good byproduct.
This thing gets ripped off of me. It's at the Elks, and all the under the balcony lights that are blinding me, and I'm 3 measures, and then I'm going to sing a song, and I've never sung in front of people sober. And usually I've got the words on a TV, and I'm in tiny gold shorts and boots, and that was my introduction to theater.
Welcome to showbiz.
Yeah. So I figured, if I could start here, I guess sky's the limit. I guess. So then I did a couple shows with the Prescott Center for the Arts in town. Nice. Started getting some starring roles and things almost right off the bat with some really big bits. Comedy really became my what I got known for there. Side note, also got known for being the first person in Prescott Center for the Arts history to go on stage full nude.
Did that?
When was that?
It was a show called The Naked Truth. They wanted me to do a cameo. It was just a little bit. I had about 30 seconds of stage time, and the director called me on my birthday. It was press night, and he said, "Hey, would you come be on stage in your birthday suit for your birthday?" And I said, "What do you need?"
How much did they pay you? How much does it cost to see you naked, Amos?
How much did he pay them?
What they did is they said, "Okay, well now that
fish full of singles is what
they said."
There's nowhere to put it.
They said, "Now that you've done it once,
be creative."
Now that you've done it once, we're going to need you to do this for the run of the show. So another couple weekends, you're going to have to come out here Thursday through Sunday.
Who directed that show?
His name was Rob White. He's definitely a creative, eccentric mind.
Yeah. I know a few of the folks over there that I've worked with on different projects. That's a great troupe over there. Great group of people.
So, interesting side story there, though. One of the other members of that cast played Frankenfurter the first time I did Rocky Horror Show. So we had a little bit of background. So I came out full naked, and he's playing this concierge at this hedonistic style hotel, and he's got this semicircle desk that he stands behind for most of it. And
that would have came in handy if he was naked.
Well, he had a little bit of an attraction to me early in the other show. We became great friends anyway. And so one night I had this gag in mind that I was going to do on stage, which you're not supposed to do, but I never was much for rules. Anyway, so I finally get it there, and because I'm naked, I got my hands over the naughty bits so that, there's still decency laws here. And so one night I get there, and there's these 2 seats that are empty on the other side of him, so nobody can actually see what I'm about to do as far as naughty bits go. So I went over, his name was Clark in the show, and I said, instead of giving my line, I went, "Clark, it's so good to see you." And I went behind his desk and gave him a great big bear hug. And we come off stage after the lights go down. I come off, and after the lights scene ends, he comes off, he goes, "You beep." And he goes, "My parents are here tonight."
He's writing down notes where he has to now edit.
He's got tally marks there. Anyway, so then I did a few more things, and then so I saw this Facebook post for this improv comedy thing, and I said that'd be fun. And I just saw that there was a thing, and then there was going to be a show at the Elks, and I said I don't know what kind of improv following there is in Prescott. I'm thinking the Elks is too big a venue, that it's going to feel too empty. There's not going to be enough people. But it's another outlet for comedy things. And I got there, and there's an Improvatonian crew in town, which is a little bit looser. This
Yeah.
one's a bit more structured. So I was like, okay, they're taking it seriously. And after I was cast and then committed, then they said, okay, this is a paying gig. And I went, whoa.
Nice.
I'm a professional. And they said, also, we've got another show in the fall, and we're going to get 4 more shows next year. I'm like, I was married once. I'm scared of commitment.
Well, when I talked to Cynthia several months ago, back in the winter as she was gearing up again, and they were able to lock in that association with the Elks, and she was giving me a little bit background of what they had planned. It was very exciting to hear because we do have a thirst for more outlets, more creative outlets here. There's so many. There's a lot of music, obviously, up and down the row. Where we are now, forgot to mention it, we're recording here at the Raven Café on Cortez. Great supporters of the show as well. They are great supporters of the arts, visually, audio, as well as some of the storytelling, the Third Thursday Spectacular that they do here every month here, which is a mixed open mic, poetry, stand-up, improv, singing, music, whatever you want to do. There isn't a lot of specifically comedy outlets.
And that's what impressed me particularly about that first show when they told us how many tickets we had sold. It really made it real how much of a desire there is for that kind of an outlet here, and there isn't that style of comedy in town anywhere.
What's Prescott Center for the Arts seat? Do you know?
$199.
199. So, because I've been there for some packed houses in that main theater, it's a beautiful spot, and I've talked to some touring comics that I know who want to come up and do shows, stand-ups, who want to do some shows in Prescott, and that's one of the places I'd really like to lock in. The Elks is great, and it's great for improv, it's great for theater, it's great for music, but for straight stand-up, that tall stage and that big distance to that front row can be a little intimidating.
Yeah.
So, but that main theater at Prescott Center for the
It's
Arts
very
is
intimate.
beautiful.
Yeah, I've done a few shows there. Shameless plug, I'll be in Dracula opening at the end of October for 2 weekends. But yeah, no, it's a great theater, and it is. You can, if you fall off stage, you will be in somebody's lap.
I got a couple of buddies of mine that Maddie here knows some of them, and we're trying to do something in 2020 there, and haven't got the details done yet. But I'd really, that's kind of my dream spot to do a nice stand-up show, and we're trying to lock it in. We'll see what happens.
If I meet any funny people, I'll let you know.
Now, you guys just improv? Do you do anything stand-up wise?
I keep looking at the auditions, but I have to do some travel for work, and I just can't commit.
What do you do for work?
I am the design and marketing manager for a national souvenir company.
National souvenir company.
I know, it sounds weird. I love my job. It's ridiculously silly sometimes. But yeah, we are a manufacturer of souvenirs here in Prescott. You go to Disneyland, you get off the roller coaster, you walk out through the gift shop, you'll see stuff that came from here.
Interesting.
Grand Canyon.
Are you comfortable plugging the name of the company?
Oh, sure. It's called Laser Gifts. Been around for 35 years.
All local here?
Local
I
here.
had no idea.
Out on
It's kind of
3240 Tower Road. I remember that from when I used to work for FedEx.
3250.
I am the worst.
You are
They moved.
so dumb. Haven't moved, but yeah.
That's why they were always out in the rain on the wrong side of the parking lot. It was off by 10.
I'm still
right.
waiting for some
Their
stuff.
packages are blown down the road. Now, what do you do for Head Start, Anna?
Okay, so, I am what's called an early Head Start home-based visitor, so I work with prenatal through 3.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, and we prepare them for preschool. So I work with the families, with the parents.
I want to know what you do for the prenatal kids for preschool.
No, that's kind of a separate program.
She sings songs through a megaphone
She sings
directly into the
well,
mother's
no,
belly.
Did you know? Okay, check this out. Did you know that development in the first 5 years of life significantly impacts the rest of your life?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I did.
Especially in the womb. So
did
what
know
I
that.
do is I coach the moms into certain things and whatnot.
Very nice. I like that. That's
It's awesome. I love it.
Concept.
And we're always accepting applications.
like our like I said, we were old when we found out that we were going to have an addition to our family. So most of our friends are either grandparents or they got kids that are out of the house. So my son, when he was born, he stayed with my wife during the day and with us and my extended family locally, a bunch of old people. That's all he was with for like 3 years. And we started thinking, he's never around kids. He's just not. But he was carrying on full conversations. He was reading at 3. He was a little 40-year-old midget. We said, he's going to be going to kindergarten in a couple of years. We got to get him into some kind of interaction with kids. So we have a friend of ours at one of the companies I do a lot of photo work for, has a couple of preschools in the area. So we talked with her. We got him into one of the preschools here in Chino, and he hated it. He was known in the class as the crying boy for months because I would drop him off in the morning, and he started in the late winter, early spring. So he'd show up at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, bundled up because it was cold, and he would cry. And then I would pick him up at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and he's now sweating in his coat, crying. He would not take his coat off because he knew Pop was coming to pick him up, and he wanted to be ready. It took him
that's
a couple of months.
Yeah, that's pretty sad.
So I was always, because my schedule's really fluid. At that point, my wife started working during the day again, so I would like escape and go like take him. And I'd get yelled at. No, he's got to learn. He's got to learn. And it was a couple of months in, and I went to go pick him up one afternoon. And I get a text on the way over, and she would text me, he's having a rough day today, or he's doing okay, he had a good day. And I got a text from the director, and she goes, he's having a fantastic day today. Oh, great. So I roll in about 3:30 to go pick him up. And he's at the front desk, signing in the other parents. Answering the phone. And I walk in and I go, what's going on? She's laughing. She goes, yeah, he was having a rough morning, so I brought him up here. She goes, I'll bring him up to the front. Every once in a while he gets along great with the staff and the parents. Doesn't really react with the kids real well.
So at least he was earning his keep, and you got a discount.
And he was getting used to being in the building. So she said, if you behave all morning, in the afternoon, you can spend 20 minutes with me at the desk. I wasn't aware she'd been doing this for a couple of weeks. Well, this day, they were shorthanded. So at about 11 o'clock, she brings him to the front desk, and she goes, yeah, he's been answering phones all morning.
They're going to need to get him a paycheck.
No, well,
Are there child labor laws against this?
No, he works full-time for me now. I had to lug in equipment today.
Matt showed up to pick him up, and he said, all right, Dad, when are you going to get a real job?
Yeah. So he was doing great, and within 3 or 4 days after that, it had extended. Okay, if you're good, you can spend the last 5 minutes at the desk, and then after that, after about a week and a half, she would go get him to come to the desk, and he'd say, no, can I stay in the classroom? So it worked. And it worked fine, and then by the time he started kindergarten, he was, he's running the place. He was fine.
He was running the school.
But yeah, it was heartbreaking to drop him off and know he was just going to be balling, and I had that temptation to go steal him every day. I was like, nah, it's not going to do him any good. He's got to, he's got to earn his sea legs,
Don't worry, the time will come where now he doesn't want to see you anymore.
No, it's pretty close to that now.
Yeah.
He's a smart kid, so he knows I'm a fraud.
I see my son if he needs food, money, or borrow my computer.
My wife likes to tell people I have one child. He's 10. She has 2 kids. One's 53 and one's 10. So he spends a lot of time with me. My office is my home. So he spends a lot of time with me after school and before I get him ready for school every day. And then she has to then correct all the damage I do when she gets home from work. So I think it's a good partnership. It's a good partnership.
It teaches the kid how to be adaptable by changing modes throughout the day. It's like, okay, Dad's here, I can do.
And to be
manipulative.
No, and to be responsible because I'm not. So he's working on the checkbook. He knows how to balance the budget. He's way better at that stuff than I am. Yeah, he's a good kid. He's a good little midget. Can we say midget anymore? No.
It's not PC.
Is it? No.
Vertically challenged.
Vertically challenged.
I've heard that one for years. I personally prefer fun-sized.
Bite-sized.
That gets a little questionable.
Mini.
Yeah.
That sounds dirty.
that's not necessarily a bad thing.
So have you done any stand-up yourself, Amos?
I've always been tempted and also intimidated by it. I think that for my own comedy evolution, it's the next step.
Yeah.
For me, you're talking earlier about why people do the improv.
Yeah.
And for me, the shows are great. It's great to hear getting that feedback from the audience of it, so when you did well and when you did. But right now, we tend to rehearse every other Sunday, and then for the few weeks leading up to the show, it's every Sunday. And for me, it's like therapy. It's an outlet for me to really where you can cut loose in any direction you really want to with improv, because you can play a serious character, you can play a ridiculous character, you can play the straight man, you can go overboard with physicality. You really get all these different elements to play with, but it's all made up on the spot.
Yeah.
And the thing with stand-up is you kind of have to have things kind of in mind ahead of time, and just that confidence to know that it's going to work.
We're supposed to have stuff ahead of time? I know I've been doing something wrong.
At least that's what I've read from people who have done it, I guess.
You bring up an interesting part, because it is listed, everybody associates improv with comedy, but it's not always that. It kind of goes wherever it's a very interactive.
Yeah.
So it can go in some very dark spots. It can go in some very serious
It really
veins
is.
as well.
And sometimes, I know for me, sometimes I can be really funny off of a prompt. Where it's just like people normally in conversation, you can get that one funny guy you work with, but you say something and he's got a quick rebuttal. But that's and that's some of where my talent is, where you can create something off of something, but creating something on your own is a lot more intimidating. Trying to come up with that whole construct and things that are going to work. And I've been working on some things that I think are pretty good and decent, but I have not had the fortitude to go try them anywhere in front of an actual audience.
Well, and that's something for the listener to keep in mind with improv. It can go various directions. It can kind of go wherever. It's very interactive. So if you are planning on attending the October 5th, 7 p.m. show at the Prescott Elks Theater, be aware that while it is going to be a fun night, it's kind of up to you, the audience, to see the theme of the show and where it goes and what kind of turns it takes. So keep that in mind when it also comes to content. That way, you're never sure where it will go.
Sometimes we're really over the top with those fiddlesticks.
Yeah. And if you three are in the mood, I don't know if you're aware of it, right here at the Raven Café in Prescott on Cortez Street, the third Thursday of every month, starting at 7-ish, 7:38, whenever that guy right over there, Sean, who hosts it, whenever he decides to start the music, whenever he decides to sober up from his extracurricular activities on the sidewalk.
They call that professional sampling. They got to make sure they're serving good beer, and they do.
They run a mixed open mic, music, improv, stand-up, storytelling, poetry, whatever you want to do. There's a good 4 or 5 of us that are here on a monthly basis to do stand-up. We had some things lined up. We, being the Mile High Show, had been working on a comedy-only open mic to run on a monthly or quarterly basis somewhere here in the Prescott Valley area. Still working on the details, trying to figure out where we can lock in. I'd like to do it every month. And lock that into a set, whether that be the first Wednesday or second, whatever it is, every month, the same place, same time, same date. And with all the music stuff going on, it's kind of hard to lock in a venue for that. But we are trying. So follow Mile High Show at milehighshow.com for info on that as we get information, and also on our social media stuff there. So other than the October 5th show, are those the only public opportunities for people to see you guys perform? Do you do are any of the classes open for people to come in? What's the process for people to take part in this?
We've brought in some experts for a workshop before, and I know we're looking at doing another one in the fall.
You did, I think, a Cinco de Mayo show?
It was. And we brought in Chris Sherland and...
I was at a Cinco de Mayo party. I wasn't there.
I cannot remember the other guy's name, but they were both fantastic. Yeah. They work in California mostly, and they came in and led us in some workshops, and that was open to the public. And then we did just a really informal performance that night.
Now, other than exercising these muscles on stage and preparing for the October 5th show at the Elks Theater, 7 p.m., get your tickets at PrescottElksTheater.com. Other than that and your every other week rehearsals and practices and classes, how do you what are some ways, let's start with Anna, what are some ways that you are taking what you've learned in your past experience with improv, what you're learning now with Mile High Comedy Theater? How are you using that, or are you able to use that in other aspects of your life?
Oh, absolutely.
Work or personal?
It's at the point where I feel like life is one big improv act. Not even kidding you guys.
Pick it up as you go.
You do, because think of it this way, like Amos was saying, like the art of it as opposed to preparing in advance, stand up, and that's got its
Yeah.
It's all got its power, its uniqueness. But the thing about improv is it's like actively creating the character. Like it's like a co-creation. It's like a co-creation process. It's like it's a living art.
Yeah.
Because I mean, my background's in acting and musical theater and stuff. I've just been doing it since I was born. So to me, it's like second nature. But not improv, but acting in general.
Just in general, performing.
But improv, and
creating.
Exactly, because how you have those boring ass conversations with people in your, people on the phone, like your aunt, the people at the office,
but a lot of people
at work.
That talk to me do.
Like those like small talk and stuff like that. Like that stuff doesn't need to happen because, like I said, you incorporate the things because it does actually change your brain when you practice these kind of strategies. It does, because it doesn't just have to be funny. It can be, for instance, like being charismatic or convincing on the spot.
One of the things that because we all get in ruts as we're, you go to the grocery store. You're not even thinking. Oftentimes I'll have something plugged in my head. I'll be listening to something and just kind of zombie-like wandering through the store, getting what I need. I've kind of forced myself in recent months, in the last couple of years, to leave the phone in the car, specifically when I go grocery shopping or when I go to the store. And I try, and because I have no background in improv whatsoever. It terrifies me just even to think about.
That means you got to do it.
No, So, in a way, I kind of am. What I do, and it drives my wife nuts, and it's starting to drive my son nuts, is I will kind of improv when I go to the store. I make a point. My wife says, well, here, there's no waiting at the self-checkout. I don't want to do that. I want to go through the line, and I'm going to carry on a conversation with that checker. I'm going to carry on a conversation with that person in front or in back of me in line. Because what it does for me is it gets me out of my bubble. It makes me think. It makes me try, and again, maybe this is the wrong way to term, but kind of not to be interesting, but just to interact with people, because otherwise, with this, social media, with being self-employed,
you're
interacting with people. Yeah, it's kind of like I can very easily go through a full day and never speak to anybody, and that's not healthy mentally or physically.
Exactly.
And even when we're out and about, how often do we just lock into a phone or doing a... So I make points when I have a chance to interact with people. I force myself to do that. So that's kind of a way of a little bit of improv.
Exactly. And improv is all about connection.
And it drives my son nuts because he'll ask me, he goes, did you know that person? Nope. Had no idea. Nope. But you were talking about their kids and where they live and what... Yeah.
Well, you talk
don't
about...
do that.
It's kind of an East Coast
now
thing,
we
too.
understand why you're driving home so late at night.
Well,
Watch out for this guy at
I'm having
Safeway.
conversations with myself at that point.
No, but you talk about the comfort zone. And for me, improv was a way out of it. Very few people that I work with have come to our show. I think only one, actually. And I'm a different person. When I'm at work, I have to watch what I'm saying. I have to, I'm responsible. I'm representing something beyond myself. When we're on the stage or when we're in rehearsal, there is a complete trust that I can say anything and they're going to pick it up and bring it back, and there's no judgment about what I'm saying.
It's connection.
Yeah.
We did a show, when we did our first show back in September, we were playing a game that was basically it's an alphabet game, an acronym game where you just throw in random letters and the other person has to come up for an acronym that explains that. Well, I kept throwing in numbers. And yep, Caesar just went with it and threw it right into the equation. And there was no, well, why'd you do that? You totally screwed it. You know, it's just complete
Yes,
trust and faith. And
Nice.
we know we can count on each other to, if Anna drops the ball, I'm going to pick it up.
Yeah.
Not that she ever does.
Never.
But the
There was that one time.
That was the orb.
that's what when I started, because years ago I'm not even going to guess where you guys are at, but probably before you were born. Mid 80s, I was doing quite a bit of open mics in where I grew up.
Which was?
It's San Francisco Bay Area.
That's where I'm from.
Whereabouts?
I grew up in the South Bay.
Oh,
I went to San Jose State.
Hayward, born and raised.
I lived in Milpitas. I lived in San Leandro.
Milpitas.
Yeah.
The jewel of the Bay.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I lived in Hayward for a while, too.
I saw Full House as a kid. So
Oh my God, synchronicity.
I was just listening to an interview with, anyway, it was a John Stamos whole connection. But I did, in mid 80s, for a few years, I was doing quite a bit of open mics. And in connection with a bunch of comics that I knew who then moved out of the area. If you remember that's a big comedy boom around the country, but really, really hardcore in the Bay Area. And when they moved, these guys that I was palling around with, I just stopped, and I never went back on stage until about 3 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And did one show, and didn't enjoy it at all. And then didn't do anything else for a few months. Then went down specifically. I work with a lot of the musicians here in the area, and they'd mentioned, hey, if you want to come up and do, like open up a music, when we're playing music, you can do a few minutes in front of us. I tried it a couple of times, didn't like it because I knew people in the audience. So I started going down to Phoenix to hit open mics. And that's part of the thing, what you're saying, when you can go into a class and have no fear of failing, because they'll pick up the ball.
Our goal is to fail, or to make each other fail.
Yes, and they'll Angie, and carry you to the next step.
Absolutely.
In my head, on stand-up, is I don't mind failing. If I can fail in front of people I will never see again, then I don't care.
that's my plan for stand-up. It's not going to be a local thing. There might be somebody I see again, and then I'll have to hide my head in shame.
This is from a man who, the first time I saw him in a show, was dressed as a mermaid. So I'm curious as to where that level of shame hits, because we just heard you went on stage naked.
So
You should do stand-up naked. That way you can't fail.
That's true. I can have a whole hands-free mic.
Where would you clip the lav? I'm just curious.
I think you know.
He has nipple rings.
Well, no, I think the big difference for me mentally is comedy, especially stand-up, it's something that you come up with, and it's you presenting something that your own
solo.
art. If I go on stage, and the one time I went on stage naked, or I went on stage dressed as a mermaid, or I've gone on stage in various things that normally you wouldn't do, but that's a show written by somebody else. You're playing a part that you didn't create. You're representing something that's somebody else. There's a little bit of a distinction there. But if it's something, it's your baby that you came up with. You came up with the concept. You wrote it. You figured out how to make it so that you could time the jokes and you could make everything funny. And then you present it. If it falls flat, that's your baby that just died on stage. Versus if I do everything technically perfect in a show and there's no reaction, like that script sucked, that's not my fault.
You got to trust yourself.
Yeah.
You got to trust yourself with stand-up.
It's different for me to sell somebody else's baby than my own.
What's odd for me is I will do, for several months, I never repeated a set, 5-7 minutes, whatever it was. Never repeated it because I was just trying new stuff, new stories, new lines. Then in recent months, I've started trying to hammer out a set, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. So I'm repeating, trying to hone what I've got. Weed out the garbage on there. And you'll go into one room, word and phrase it exactly the same, get a great laugh on one show, hop in your car, go down the road, do the same exact words, and get zilch. Nothing. And it's like, how how do you clean that up? How do you determine, was that just not people not paying attention? Was it not paying attention either way? They weren't paying attention and just laughed, or they weren't paying attention, didn't hear you, or is it just garbage and needs to be thrown out?
For me, I gained a lot of confidence as far as work. I haven't actually done it, but working myself up to try it from two comics, and successful ones. And one was I was listening to one of the comedy channels, and some George Carlin came on. And later, some more George Carlin came on, and I heard 3 or 4 different versions of basically his same set. And one killed, and one wasn't. Even to me, as and I'm a fan. But you could tell that he was playing smaller clubs, and these are old recordings where he was working the nuance of his bit out. And this is Carlin. I mean, he's a legend. And the other one was an interview that Jerry Seinfeld did with John Oliver, who now hosts, Last Week Tonight, and he's got his own HBO special on the weekly, and he's successful. But he did a show. He did a stand-up show, and 4 people showed up. And he's doing his show, and then one of the couples left, and then he's doing his show for 2 people, and the guy gets up and says, "I have to use the restroom," so he leaves. So he continues his show.
One person.
So the woman's still there, and then she grabs her purse to leave, and she goes, "So you're leaving then?" And she's like, "Yeah, I think so." And then so everybody's gone, and he's just got the sound engineer, and the sound engineer says to him, he's like, "So are we going on?" He's like, No, it's over. They've all left. And I'm like, this is a guy who's now he's super successful. He's hilarious. I mean, I love his stuff. And he did a show for 4 people, and 100% of them walked out. So really, you can't base your performance on an audience if you only do it one time, which gives me a bit of confidence to go try it. And if it's bad, it doesn't mean I was bad. I got to go be bad again to know that I was bad.
The beauty of the Ravens' Third Thursday spectacular that they do, it's their talent night, their open mic, is there's because I've done several open mics in down in the valley or up in Flagstaff where a good portion of the room are just the next comics waiting to get up. Actually, Flagstaff has a good room at Southside where out of the 10 comics that are there for the open mic, there's 30 people in the audience that are not there to perform. So it's a pretty neat setup. Here, the vast majority of the folks that come to the Ravens Thursday night are audience members, and they're extremely supportive, whatever you're going to do, whether that be tell a few jokes, tell a story, read a poem, play a song, whatever. It's a very supportive room. It's a really good room just to try stuff in.
They're also here for the fantastic high-quality craft beers and the high-quality tasty menu items.
So I strongly encourage you to come. The next one is next Thursday. I won't be here. I'll be out of town.
Oh, good. That'll be one less person that I know.
No, but it's a really good night. What do you do now work-wise? What's your vocation?
I am in the high-paced, exciting world of selling car parts.
Oh, where at?
Lamb Chevrolet. Yeah.
Lamb?
Yep.
My wife worked there for a while. Ed Walsh still there?
Yep. He's still there. Love you, Ed. You're a really nice guy. This is public, right? Yeah.
Yeah, she was there for a few years. 04 to 05 to 07, 08.
That's before me. I've been there for 7 years, though. It's a good company. Yeah. I get tired of people too quick. It's the longest job I've ever held for 7 years.
You know, parts department?
Yeah.
Nice. So what else you guys got to plug? What else do you do? Any other performing outside of Mile High Comedy Theater? Go.
I'm a really horrible musician.
Where do you play? And what?
In my garage.
You don't come out to any of the mics here in town?
That's why I brought it up. I'm going to someday.
Come on down next Thursday night right here at the Raven. It's a lot of fun.
We could do a duet. I'll tell bad jokes. You play bad music. It'll be great.
Yes.
You can all sit in the audience and look like a really bad audience member, just stone-faced.
Well, I play guitar and I sing, but my music, it all started really comically because since it's bad, it made people laugh. So cool. No, because originally I started teaching myself guitar because Adam Sandler and his Hanukkah songs and all that was a big inspiration for me as a kid. And Phoebe on Friends.
I am way older than you guys, aren't I?
Yeah, I was born in the mid '80s when you were doing your thing.
Yeah, you're like I was playing comedy shows in the mid '80s, and I was like, you know what? I would have been working with Anya's grandma at Head Start. That's a rectangle.
Oh my goodness! How about you? Any other creative outlets, or do you
With
save
work
it all
full time,
for the
parenting full time, I do what I can. I would love to, like I said, I'd love to audition for some of the shows. I can't sing. Nobody wants me to sing. It's awful. When my daughter was 2, she said, "Mommy, don't sing." So I try not to.
I had a neighbor tell me that one time because I sang in the shower and really thin walls in our apartments. She goes, "Don't do that anymore."
Unfortunately, Prescott does a lot of musicals.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't go out for those, and everybody else thanks me for that.
I was at a karaoke bar last week, and it was late. I was covering Metallica's Master of Puppets, and some guy came up to me and he said, "Are you in a cover band?" And I said, "Are you drunk?" I was in a bar, so it was like 11:30. So yeah.
Well, I've started something recently that I don't know why, just because I was bored. I close out the show by asking my guests a couple of questions. So let's start with Liz.
Yes, sir.
They're making a life story of you. Who plays the lead? Living or dead?
I'm going to go with Sandra Bullock.
Sandra Bullock. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. What genre movie is it?
Rom-com, but I don't get to be the hero. I'll be the duff.
And who does the soundtrack? Or what style soundtrack is it?
80s. I got to have my Bowie.
80s? Nice.
80s music.
On you. Who plays the lead?
Ooh, Ellen Page.
Ellen Page. I'm not familiar with Ellen Page.
No?
Why would
Do
I
you
know
know?
Ellen Page? Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think she was the architect in Inception.
Okay. I probably know the face. I'll have to look at it. And what genre movie is this? Is it a comedy? Is it a tragedy? Is it a thriller? Are chainsaws involved?
It's going to be a foreign film. It's really weird, and only certain people
That
understand
is
it.
so accurate.
Will there be subtitles?
It's totally film noir.
Yes.
Black and white?
Subtitles only. No sound.
There will be subtitles, but they're going to change week to week.
Yeah.
They're going to be in 3 different languages and in no particular order.
Are they filming this in black and white? I'm thinking maybe a Jim Jarmusch, maybe directing this. Nice.
Black and white, silent, lots of subtitles.
What kind of soundtrack?
Ooh. I'm going to say I want Snoop Dogg to make my soundtrack.
Interesting. Now, I forgot to ask you, Liz. We'll ask Anna and then bring it back to you. Is this taking place now in your life? Is this going to be you at an earlier age, at a younger age, at an older age? When's this happening?
Me first?
Yeah.
Ooh. This is in a potential future reality
Gotcha.
timeline that I cross through a mirror portal in a dream.
I think I want to see this. And who knows? It may be reviewed on Real Film Nerds podcast that Maddie here hosts. Liz, what time of your life does this take place?
I think it's at my funeral, all in flashback. Because that's the only time anyone's going to have the guts to really say what they want to me.
I'd say that for mine, but nobody's going to be there. Amos, back to you. Who plays you?
Amelia Clark. She's adorable.
And looks good in gold
Beard.
underwear, I guess. I don't know.
I think this is going to be a horror erotica movie set in the future simply because I want to go see it now and I don't like surprise endings. So I want to know how this whole show goes down.
What kind of soundtrack? Sounds like maybe heavy metal?
It's going to be heavy. I don't know. It's going to be a little bit of a psych rock. Maybe some Les Claypool, some of his side project stuff, a little spacey.
Nice. Where do they show this? Is this only at the Cineplex? Is it only on in an art house? Do you got to drop quarters in a machine to see it? What's going on?
Well, when I was in London, I went to a bar called The World's End, and it was this very alternative kind of like, it looked like Dracula's Dungeon kind of a bar. And underneath, there was a bar called The Underground, and I feel like that's what it is. It's not advertised. You just have to know somebody who knows somebody. It's only open on certain nights, and that's where you go to see it.
Interesting. Very sticky floor. I anticipate a very sticky floor at this showing.
Yes, very sticky
Don't wear
floor with
flip-flops.
no explanation.
Don't wear flip-flops to this. I used to say for mine, who was going to play me was going to be Artie Lang, and then I saw a picture of him the other day, and he looks in pretty good shape after 7 months in the rehab facility. So I got to switch it. He can't play me anymore. You know Bobby Kelly? Do you know the comic Bobby Kelly, comic and actor?
It sounds so familiar.
Used to be
but I can't place him.
I think he's it for me, and it's got to be Not Now. That's a boring movie. Me in my 20s. And Tom Waits is doing that soundtrack. It's going to be like a Heart Attack and Vine era Tom Waits.
Soundtrack and cameo. I think he has to be in there somewhere.
Yeah. San Francisco in the early 80s for me. It'll be a mix between The Big Sleep and Scarface, I guess. Yeah, it was an interesting time. I think. I don't know. I am so glad I grew up, before social media, because while there were a lot of video and photographic records of my escapades, I was taking the pictures for the most part. I'm a photographer by trade, and have been for a few decades, and I have lots of incriminating photos of the people I grew up with. None of me, oddly enough.
That's that legal phrase, too grainy to be incriminating.
Well, I want to thank you all for sitting down and taking some time to talk with me. Amos Owen, Anna McCullough. I'm going to butcher that. Chainsaw. Liz Rogers. Want to thank the good folks at the Raven Cafe for letting us take up space. If you are, and you should be, picking up tickets to the Mile High Comedy Theater show on October 5th at 7 p.m., check out the ticket pricing and process to get those at PrescottElksTheater.com. Follow the Mile High Comedy Theater on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I don't know, just search them. You'll find them. Please follow us, The Mile High Show, on those social media platforms as well. All of our back episodes and future announcements will be at milehighshow.com. Don't forget, Alvarez Tire, 1574 South Highway 89, gave us a killer deal on a set of 4 tires for my truck. Big Daddy's Barbecue, BDEBBQ.com, great supporter of our podcast and of the local arts and music scene in and around Prescott and Chino Valley, Arizona. And, of course, we will be featured next week on the 19th as a featured podcast. I think Andy Steinberg will be my guest. We're going to try and sit down with some other guests throughout the weekend. But our big show, 1 o'clock in the afternoon at the Green Room in Flagstaff for the Big Pine Comedy Festival. Information on that is available at bigpinecomedyfestival.org. And if you hang around throughout the evenings through the 22nd, you just might see me on stage at some of the open mics, and I may be lurking in the wings on October 5th at the Mile High Comedy Theater at the Elks Theater. Thanks for tuning in.